Embark on a thrilling journey with Joseph as he uncovers the spine-chilling truth behind aliens and government cover-ups. Brace yourself for a roller coaster of true and scary stories from around the world that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. Unraveling the mysteries of Project Blue Book and diving into the world of alleged alien cover-ups. Are we alone in the universe, or is there more to the story? Join me on a journey through the unknown as we explore the truth behind the extraterrestrial enigma.
Welcome to True and Scary Stories from Around the World. Joseph, if host for this intriguing podcast about true and scary stories. Now you can subscribe with Joseph and get extra behind-the-scenes fun stuff, videos and so much more. Join the True and Scary community today for $2 a month, and remember, don't be so scared.
In the film Close Encounters of the Third Kind, there's a famous scene where a UFO makes the electronics in a car go haywire. The real-life inspiration for that scene came from an incident in 1957, when dozens of citizens of Levelland, Texas, individually reported seeing a rocket or strange lights that interfered with their vehicles. Engines died, lights cut out. Though the police initially thought the reports were a hoax, they, too, saw the mysterious lights as they investigated the situation. Project Blue Book was assigned to investigate the case. Their findings? It was an electrical storm and ball lightning that caused the lights and the mechanical malfunctions, despite the fact that there were no reported thunderstorms in the area that night. The September 19, 1976, incident in Tehran, Iran, started much like many others, with phone calls from concerned citizens reporting a bright light in the sky. An F-4 fighter jet was sent out to investigate, but as it neared the object, its instruments blacked out, forcing the pilot to return to base. A second F-4 took its place, and as it neared the unusual light, it achieved radar lock. But according to the pilot, the UFO released a glowing object, which the pilot assumed to be some sort of missile headed straight for him. As he prepared to fight back, the pilot experienced malfunctions with his instruments and he witnessed another bright object released from the UFO that headed straight toward the ground. He safely returned to base, despite the faulty equipment. After the incident, Iran contacted the United States to aid them in an investigation. An unclassified memo by U.S. Air Force Section Chief Lieutenant Colonel Olin Moy detailed the events of the night. There are explanations for nearly all of them. First, the bright light seen by civilians, and possibly the pilots, might have been Jupiter, which was visible in the sky that night. Second, as author Brian Dunning notes in his podcast Skepshid, the second F-4 jet had a long history of electrical problems, meaning the instrumentation might have failed regardless of possible UFO interference. It also could explain the radar lock. It might simply have been a malfunction. The first F-4, reports Dunning, was never turned in for maintenance following the incident, so there's no official indication that its instrumentation failed. And finally, as for the alien missiles, there was a meteor shower that night, which could easily account for the sightings. In December 1980, U.S. Air Force members stationed at two British Royal Air Force bases, Woodbridge and Bentwaters, reported seeing strange, colorful lights above Rendlesham Forest, about 100 miles northeast of London. One man who entered the forest to investigate claimed to have discovered some sort of spacecraft there, and the next day, others confirmed damage to nearby trees and a higher than normal level of radiation at the site. Several days later, more sightings were reported. Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt recorded his observations on an audio tape as he watched the lights, and while not definitive proof, Theorists consider this the strongest evidence of the events. But the UK's Ministry of Defence, which oversaw reports of UFO incidents until the early 2000s, didn't find any credible threat to the nation and didn't pursue investigations further. As at Roswell, UFO tourism is prevalent in Rendlesham Forest, and there's even an official Rendlesham UFO trail that visitors can hike, off of which sits a model of the reported spacecraft. At the end of November 1989, citizens of Belgium reported seeing a large, triangular UFO hovering in the sky. But beyond the visual sightings, no evidence was found of any UFO's existence. A few months later, in March 1990, new sightings of multiple objects were reported, confirmed by two military ground radar stations. Two F-16 fighter jets were sent out to investigate the anomalies, and though the pilots could not see anything visually, they were able to lock onto their targets with radar. But the UFOs moved so fast that the pilots ended up losing them. Some 13,500 people are estimated to have witnessed the incident, making it one of the most widely experienced UFO sightings of the modern era. The Belgian Air Force had no logical explanation for the activity, but it acknowledged that an unknown activity had taken place in the air. The Belgians reached out to the UK's Ministry of Defence to investigate further, but once they determined that the incident was not a hostile or aggressive one, they stopped the investigation.
In 2017, several news organizations revealed the existence of the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program, ATIP, a U.S. government-funded program that investigated unidentified flying objects between 2007 and 2012. This secret $22 million program, however, was not the first of its kind. Official government UFO studies began in the late 1940s with Project Sign, providing some of the most credible videos of aerial phenomena to date. Within a few years, that program eventually evolved into Project Blue Book, which actively investigated UFO sightings throughout much of the Cold War. The 2017 revelation that the US government was actively researching UFOs reignited world interest in UFOs and aliens. Below are 5 of the most believable UFO sightings of the 21st century. It takes a lot for motorists to stop alongside a highway to look toward the sky, but on July 14, 2001, drivers on the New Jersey Turnpike did just that. For around 15 minutes just after midnight, they marveled at the sight of strange orange and yellow lights in a V formation over the Arthur Kill waterway between Staten Island, New York, and Carteret, New Jersey. Carteret Police Department's Lieutenant Daniel Tarrant was one of the witnesses, as well as other metro area residents from the Throgs Neck Bridge on Long Island and Fort Lee, New Jersey near the George Washington Bridge. Air traffic controllers initially denied that any airplanes, military jets or space flights could have caused the mysterious lights, but a group known as the New York Strange Phenomena Investigators, NYSPI, claimed to receive FAA radar data that corroborated the UFO sightings from that night. On November 14, 2004, the USS Princeton, part of the USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group, noted an unknown craft on radar 100 miles off the coast of San Diego. For 2 weeks, the crew had been tracking objects that appeared at 80,000 feet and then plummeted to hover right above the Pacific Ocean. When 2 FA-18F fighter jets from the aircraft carrier USS Nimitz arrived in the area, they first saw what appeared to be churning water, with a shadow of an oval shape underneath the surface. Then, in a few moments, a white tic-tac shaped object appeared above the water. It had no visible markings to indicate an engine, wings or windows, and infrared monitors didn't reveal any exhaust. Black Aces Commander David Fravor and Lieutenant Commander Jim Slade of Strike Fighter Squadron 41 attempted to intercept the craft, but it accelerated away, reappearing on radar 60 miles away. It moved 3 times the speed of sound and more than twice the speed of the fighter jets.
Welcome to True and Scary Stories from Around the World. Joseph, if host for this intriguing podcast about true and scary stories. Now you can subscribe with Joseph and get extra behind the scenes fun stuff, videos and so much more. Join the True and Scary community today for $2 a month, and remember, don't be so scared.